All right, Caitlin Collins in Singapore, thanks so much. Now, here with me is the top White House economic advisor, Larry Kudlow. He was with the president at the G7 summit. He was doing a lot of the negotiating on that communique. Larry, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, as always. Let's start with this unprecedented decision from the president to not endorse the communique that you had been negotiating. Was this the plan all along, or was this completely a reaction to Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister?
Completely a reaction. I appreciate you putting that out there. Look, we went there. All the punditry was saying, A, President Trump might not even go to G7. B, we'll never sign a communique because, C, we're not going to work with other people. Well, we did, in good faith. I personally negotiated with Prime Minister Trudeau, who, by the way, I basically liked working with, but not until this sophomoric play. I mean, we went through it. We agreed, we compromised on the communique, we joined the communique in good faith.
But what did he say that was so offensive? President Trump accused him of lying.
Well, he holds a press conference, and he said the U.S. is insulting. He said that Canada has to stand up for itself. He says that we are the problem with tariffs. What the non-factual part of this was they have enormous tariffs. I mean, they have tariffs on certain dairy and food products of a 295%. He was polarizing. You know, here's the thing. I mean, he really kind of stabbed us in the back. He really actually, you know what? He did a great disservice to the whole G7. He betrayed...
Trudeau did.
Yes, he did, because they were united in the G7. They came together. And I was there extensively. I was involved in these late-night negotiations. President Trump was charming, good faith. I was in the bilateral meeting with Trudeau and President Trump, and they were getting along famously. President Trump actually, and this is music to my ears, Jake, he went through those 2 days of conference talking about the need for a new free trade system, no tariffs, no tariff barriers.
No subsidies.
No subsidies. He is a trade reformer, as I have argued again and again, and he put that out. And so they have this bilateral meeting. We were very close to making a deal with Canada on NAFTA, bilaterally perhaps, and then we leave and Trudeau pulls this sophomoric political stump for domestic consumption. It pains me because I like
President Trump does that all the time, though.
This is a cheap shot.
Doesn't he?
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't say things for domestic consumption?
No, the point is, if you're going through a treaty process, a communique, and you have good faith, and those leaders were together. I mean, I was right smack in the middle of it on Friday night and Saturday morning. You don't walk away and start firing bullets. Now, look.
I can't believe that an advisor to President Trump is saying that, because President Trump does that all the time. He does things for domestic consumption.
Not after you pull a treaty or a deal together.
But let's look at the language of the communique. Let's look at the language of the communique that you helped negotiate that President Trump walked away from. Here's the part that's on trade, which is the part that obviously I think President Trump's most interested in. We acknowledge that free, fair, and mutually beneficial trade and investment, while creating reciprocal benefits, are key engines for growth and job creation. We strive to reduce tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers, and subsidies. We call for the start of negotiations this year to develop stronger international rules on market-distorting industrial subsidies and trade-distorting actions by state-owned enterprises. That is what President Trump believes in.
Yes.
Why walk away from it just because of something Justin Trudeau said for domestic consumption?
Not something. Look, yes, for domestic consumption, but it was a global state. The whole world listened to what he said. Look, you're reporting it here in Washington, as you must. I get that. You just don't behave that way, okay? It's a betrayal, okay? Essentially double-crossing. Not just double-crossing President Trump, but the other members of the G7 who were working together and pulling together this communique. You know, you never get everything you want. There are compromises along the way. President Trump played that process in good faith. So I ask you, he gets up in the airplane and leaves, and then Trudeau starts blasting them in a domestic news conference. I'm sorry. It is a betrayal. That is a double cross. It pains me because I like Trudeau. I was working with him. We were together. We're putting words on paper. I'm changing thes to a's when it comes to reforming the international system. They all agreed. This is so important. They all agreed.
So why walk away from the agreement? That's what I don't understand.
Well, then ask Mr. Trudeau that. That's the question.
But he didn't walk away from the agreement.
Don't blame Trump. It was Trudeau who started blasting Trump after he left, after the deals had been made. And one last point on this. POTUS is going to Korea, now Singapore, to negotiate with the North Koreans. This is an historic event.
Absolutely.
Good things, wonderful things could come out of it.
We all hope so. Absolutely.
Right. Thank you. Now, POTUS is not going to let a Canadian prime minister push him, POTUS, around President Trump on the eve of this. He is not going to permit any show of weakness on the trip to negotiate with North Korea, nor should he.
So this was about North Korea?
Of course it was, in large part.
So because Trudeau said that as Trump was going to Singapore.
Well, you know, one thing leads to another.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They are all related. We had done our work in Quebec, north of Quebec. We did our work. We worked with the Western Alliance, pleased to do so. We get on the plane, and then this guy, Trudeau, starts blasting us.
So what's key here?
Kim must not see American weakness. It's that short. And you know, Jake, you've covered the beef for so long. How many times has President Trump said, if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back, okay? Right. And this is a case where Trudeau, it was like, I don't know, pouring collateral damage on this whole Korean trip. That was a part of Trudeau's mistake. Trudeau made an error. He should take it back. He should pull back on his statements and wish President Trump well in the Korean negotiations. So, these other members did. Yeah. Angela Merkel did. Macron did. I was right there. Theresa May did.
Okay, so
and all of a sudden, he went rogue.
I'm seeing what you're saying here, that this had to do with North Korea.
In large part.
A lot of people are not interpreting it the way you're interpreting it. As Senator John McCain issued a statement saying to our allies, bipartisan majorities of Americans remain pro-free trade, pro-globalization, and supportive of alliances based on 70 years of shared values. Americans stand with you, even if our president doesn't. So that's a remarkable statement from a Republican senator about a Republican president.
Look, two things. One, John McCain and I are old friends, and I wish him well. He's not well. I wish him well. Just want to make that point. Number two, President Trump is essentially doing what John McCain wanted him to do with respect to free trade. President Trump made it clear time and again in those 2 days outside of Quebec that he wants to reinstitute a process of free trade, no tariffs,
no subsidies,
no tariff barriers, no quotas and subsidies. He was absolutely consistent during this entire trip. And to some extent, this was a new emphasis, although I have known for years, I wrote a piece in the Washington Post the other day, I have known that Trump is a free trader, okay? I knew that. This is the first time, as I recall, he put it out there explicitly. And what does he get from Pierre Trudeau? Slap in the face. And I'm sorry, look, nobody in this game is perfect. Nobody in this game is entirely clean. I get that. But that doesn't mean you can't negotiate in good faith. Okay?
Well, I see you're also saying that what's really important here is that America, in your view, can't show weakness as President Trump flies to Singapore to negotiate with Kim Jong-un.
First of all, you know, why throw a monkey wrench into the meeting of the Western allies? That's point number one, I think, Trudeau. And second of all, yes, you're quite right, sir. I mean, he can't put Trump in a position of being weak going into the North Korean talks with Kim. He can't do that. And by the way, President Trump is not weak. He will be very strong, as he always is. So those are my points. This was an ill-advised statement.
Let me ask you. I want to ask you another question.
He ought to he ought to come out and apologize in the name of the Western allies. Okay, he ought to come out today and wish President Trump well in the negotiations
in Singapore,
instead of taking pot shots at him.
I want to ask you another thing that raised a lot of eyebrows had to do with President Trump